Hello, my name is Michael Ford. I am Vice President of Industry and Government Affairs for BDP International. And I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes and tell you the importance of what's going on with COVID-19, how it's affecting our key aspects of business and commerce here in the US and around the world. These are some short videos that we hope to provide you with some valuable and educational information so that you can navigate these turbulent waters that are in front of us right now and still ahead of us. So this series is sponsored by Temple University Center for International Business School and Research, and it's hosted by the Fox Business School here at Temple. So with that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about international logistics, what's been going on over the few months and what we kind of expect and how that has impacted. So COVID-19 has definitely brought some challenges as well as some changes to the international supply chain. You know, and I want to take a moment and think about this. Since 9/11, companies have, over the years, these global companies have worked on this, what we always have used just in time, their inventories, and they've always had their contingencies built in. And when you go back and look over the past few years, we've been tested in those areas. Hurricane Katrina here in the U.S. We look outside the U.S. There's been some issues in Japan with the nuclear reactor on a meltdown. So that those have brought a lot of interesting changes, challenges into the supply chain, and has affected the world of logistics. COVID-19, though, has definitely brought, I think, a new way and a new challenge to a lot of companies in the supply chain, and especially in the world of logistics. So let me share some information with you a little bit about this world of international logistics and where we're at right now, and hope to give you some information on where we're going to be moving to. So, well, let's start off with, air. We look at air freight. And most international cargo travels on passenger aircraft. At this moment, there's 90% of passenger aircraft is grounded in the world. So what planes are really moving are your all-cargo planes. So when we see passengers not traveling, the airlines are going to stop those flights. And what comes into play now is your all cargo. So why all cargo and what's happening there? It's less crew, so it's a little bit more safer for traveling on that way, to have cargo travel. There's less crew to handle that, so less impacts on that end of it. However, air cargo brings what? There's not as much reliability. There's less flights. It's not really scheduled as much. So we don't see flights leaving, every day, out of Asia, coming into the US or even to Europe. So flights are now not as reliable, and they're scarce. So what does that do? Well, the end of the day, that starts increasing prices, right? Because we have less space, therefore space becomes valuable and rates rise. Scheduling is tough because it's just not regular. So what does that do? Well, that has some big impacts to global companies as we're trying to bring in goods, maybe for PPE and other essential products, that we're going to need here and that the public needs here in the U.S. So with that, air has definitely been impacted, scheduling, rates. Some examples that we've had, we've been working and bringing product out of China, and what's scheduled and what actually happens sometimes is just two different things. So you need to really remain on top of this, meaning phone calls. You really can't rely on email to get the job done. You need to definitely pick up communications, something much more than we've ever had to do before. So let's switch a little bit to, ocean. Ocean has brought its own troubles and challenges to the international logistics world. And I saw a statistic come out that 68% of the ocean carriers' reliability is just not there. So if we're planning, scheduling, product that we need, that we're bringing into the U.S., or even if we're trying to export out to our customers, and we're working on a 68% of unreliability in the ocean world, think about what that does to scheduling. Think about what that does to communications and information. It's definitely brought its challenges to the market. So when we see international logistics over the past month, what we've been working on, how we've been managing on a day-to-day basis is truly something different. Much different than 9/11. People are working, as we all know, remotely. And so who are we communicating with when we're dealing with the carriers, be it ocean or air, right? All of that, people are working from home also. So trying to reach people and have a good phone communications becomes very important. Yes, systems are in place. Yes, there is automation. But when you're dealing with uncertainty, unreliability, it forces you to continue to pick up your communications, many times just really over the phone. And your communications sometimes is just not here in the US, right? You really have to reach out overseas if product is coming into the US, and having that phone call and establishing your relationship and having that network, that will bring that success for you on that end of it. So the world of international logistics, as we know it today, has challenges. And, will this happen and continue in that world? And the answer is, yeah, probably for the next 6 months, we kind of see some changes. So until the passenger aircraft start coming back, where that does bring some different scheduling in, we're going to live on the all cargo world. Rates are going to continue to stay high on that end of it, because we do see demand for air cargo space is definitely there, and it's needed. And I think also as we do open back up and there are passenger aircraft, I wouldn't think it'd be a big surprise if we see cargo sometimes sitting maybe up where some of the passengers are. If people are not flying and filling up planes, the airlines are going to use as much space as possible. So just something that we maybe shouldn't surprise us if that happens out there in the future. So let me talk a little bit about also the supply of PPE. We've been working with companies to source PPE outside the U.S. because what do we know? We know sourcing here in the U.S. is scarce, right? We are manufacturing. That manufacturing is definitely now taken over by FEMA, where that product is going, but it's not enough for consumption here in the U.S. So companies that have been working, essential companies, essential workers, it's just not healthcare and hospitals, but also, food, as well as our chemical industry, all have deemed to be essential workers. And if we have our plants working, the people who are working in those plants need to be safe. Therefore, PPE also needs to get to them. So we've seen a huge uptick of PPE being sourced internationally. And if companies have not been familiar with that sourcing, it brings, again, some different challenges, different information, and a different process that needs to be in place. So we've been able to work with some companies who have been unfamiliar with handling PPE and the government agencies that are involved. And now we're sourcing it overseas. And that in itself, again, also creates some challenges to the world. I'll give you a statistic that I saw out of the World Trade Organization, and that was, 54% of the world's PPE is processed by the US, Germany, and China. And China holds a 25% world market share of just masks. So here in the US, as we source our products and we need masks, as we all see in the news, The only other place really to source it out has been China, and that has brought its challenges with it. There are over 80 countries that all have an export ban on exporting PPE. At this point, China does not. So it becomes the source point. Chinese customs has definitely had some challenges ensuring that the right product is leaving that country, that counterfeits, which have been in play, are not being sent out. So that places a tremendous challenge at origin to ensure proper product that is being ordered, that is being needed, is the product that is being moved, and that it's a safe product that is able to be consumed at destination. Destination here being in the US. So we've seen a lot of holdups, a lot of regulatory changes that are occurring out of China. What works one day has been changing over the past couple of days. So keeping up with the rules on the export, the regulations of PPE out of China has definitely brought its challenges. As well as here in the US, PPE is allowed to come in for companies that are purchasing it, but there is a control on PPE being exported. So it can happen. There are exceptions to where companies can be sending it to their sister company or to their affiliate in Canada or Mexico, but you need to be able to document that and prove your point. So, at the end of the day, there's challenges on the international logistics side. The rules and regulations have definitely been changing at a very, very quick pace. So staying current and up to date and communicating all of that has also brought its unique challenges out there to who needs that information, which is one of the reasons why we're trying to record some of this information and make it available. As we said, we're living in turbulent times right now, and we need to know good information, needs to be current, so that we know how to handle it all. So is there any silver linings to all of this? And of course, we need to always look at silver linings. A new way of doing business, and we have our challenges. Automation is definitely one of the keys, being able to work remotely, planning, scheduling, communicating, all are the key elements that we all know. But so is compassion, and bringing the human side to what is needed here. There is someone on the other line who we're trying to communicate with, the urgency, the critical nature of what it is that we're trying to get, if it's information or ensuring that we have the right information to get it to the right parties. So all of that we see, in the future, in the few months coming, as the passenger aircraft start coming back, ocean carriers have better reliability. We can get back to a better scheduling and planning and help that the international world of logistics starts, we'll call, riding together. And that is everyone on board, good communications. But the future is something that I think we're looking forward to because of the amount of changes here. We've all learned something new, and we need to take what those new learnings are and incorporate it into our new business processes that are going to be out there. So with that, I hope I've given you some good information to help to get through some of these turbulent times. I hope everyone is safe and remains healthy. And I also wanted to thank the Fox School of Business for allowing this information and allowing me to spend a few minutes with you and give you some important information.